People want to know if we've tried this with our girls, and no, I have not tried it with Tessie. However, yes, we were gluten-free and dairy-free for over 2 years with Maggie, and we were a whole lot more than that. One of the questions that I receive a lot from therapists and from people just in general online and in real life is whether or not we have tried any special diets to help our girls who have autism, because diets are a common trend, solution, potential cure. Sometimes people look at them in different ways. Not everyone who tries different diets are trying to cure autism. Some people try it because their kids have gastro problems. They're trying to help their kids feel better. There are different reasons that people try different diets in the autism world. Some people are trying to cure their kids' autism and they're hoping that a diet is going to do that. People are trying to, as I said, help with gastro problems. A lot of kids who are on the spectrum have gastrointestinal problems. The other day, James and I were in the GI office at the children's hospital that he goes to, and while we were there, I would say 6 kids came in, and that more than half of the kids that came into the gastro office while we were there were on the spectrum. A lot of kids who are on the spectrum have GI problems. It's kind of like a lot of kids who are on the spectrum have GI problems. A lot of kids who are on the spectrum have seizures. And so different diets are something that you see a lot. And I would say that the most common diet that generally pops up is going to be kids who are gluten-free and casein-free. People want to know if we've tried this with our girls, and no, I have not tried it with Tessie. However, yes, we were gluten-free and dairy-free for over 2 years with Maggie, and we were a whole lot more than that. And it sucked. And we were really strict. So the backstory of how that happened was that when Patch was a baby, when he was about a month old, he had a really scary allergy develop. And it was terrifying. He was like wheezing. It was from nursing. He wasn't eating food when he was a month old. People sometimes think that. When I say Patch had a scary allergy when he was 30 days old, they're like, what were you feeding him? I wasn't feeding my 1-month-old food. After Patch would nurse, he would begin to wheeze, his face would swell up and become red, and he would be covered in a rash. And he would scream and scream like he was in horrible pain all night long, and it was terrifying. The doctor that at that point that he was still seeing, who isn't any of our kids' doctors now, didn't believe that babies that young could have food allergies. And his food allergy was from my breast milk and from what I was eating. It happened over and over again. When he would nurse, he would have the same reaction, not always with the wheezing, but with his face would be bright red. He had eczema all over the place. He was basically born with this rash. And when he was born with this rash, it wasn't like baby acne. It was like his whole entire body was covered in this rash. And like they were bringing in med students with medical books to look at him. They were like, it doesn't look like that, and it doesn't look like that, and it kind of looks like this, but not really, I don't know, not really like this. And I have wondered if he was already allergic to dairy when he was born, honestly. When I asked his allergist what was the youngest that he had ever seen a baby diagnosed with an allergy, he said that he hadn't seen a baby this young, but his father, who was an allergist in the same office, had seen a baby who was diagnosed with an allergy at 1 day old. And that was the youngest that they had ever seen. And so I kind of wonder now, looking back, if that rash that they were bringing med students in to see when he was a couple days old, if that was actually the beginning of his dairy allergy. Anyways, I'm kind of getting sidetracked. Patch had this dairy allergy. We weren't going to find out about it right away because it took me a while to convince his doctors to actually send us to an allergist. I had to take him in like 3 or 4 times, and basically finally it was just because he knew I was going to be in his office every 2 days. Every time his face swelled up and he started wheezing, I was in that office. And finally, even though he said, like, you know, some doctors don't even believe that babies this young can be allergic to anything, and then wrote a referral to the allergist's office. And as soon as we got to the allergist's office, he was like prescribing an EpiPen, and they had figured out what it was. But I went in December, and we were not able to get in to see that allergist until April. And so in the meantime, I basically did an elimination diet where we cut out the big, 8 allergens. And I stopped eating all of those from my diet because I couldn't figure out what it was that he was allergic to. And within 48 hours, he was no longer screaming, his skin was normal, and he was like a normal happy baby who was sleeping and happy. And because I was preparing food for everybody, basically that's how we started preparing food. I wasn't cooking with any of the 8 major allergens, so no soy, no wheat, no dairy, because I figured if I'm cooking, I'm going to cook the same food for everybody in the house. So suddenly, that's how everybody was eating. So we introduced all the foods back in, and then Sadie was diagnosed with a wheat allergy. So that was just awesome. So now we had this baby that was allergic to dairy, and this little 4-year-old who was allergic to wheat. And it wasn't a bad wheat allergy, but she couldn't have it, and she got sick when she had it. So, no wheat, no dairy. And that is how Maggie started to live in a gluten-free, dairy-free home. But she could still have it when she went out of the house, of course, because she wasn't allergic to it. And Maggie loved her milk, and she loved her wheat. And so it was like a special treat. And that was when we started to notice that we felt like she was having negative behaviors when she had it. Like we felt like she was wilder when she had it. And that was after Maggie was diagnosed and I started reading about the diet, how Maggie got on a very, very strict gluten-free, dairy-free diet. It was after that that Sadie had another allergy test at a recheck, and she was diagnosed with an allergy to peanuts, soy, green peas, dairy. There was one more. Can't even remember. She was diagnosed with a whole bunch of allergies that were really, really scary. And so then we had a lot of allergies in the house. And at that point, I was also like trying the GAPS diet with Maggie, which did not work because if Maggie doesn't like food, Maggie just won't eat food. Like to a scary degree, to like where you're starting to wonder if Maggie's gonna need like a feeding tube or something where she's like looking like a little skeleton. So that wasn't gonna work with Maggie. And so we just went back to the gluten-free, dairy-free with Maggie, and we did it for 2 years. And I believed that it worked, and I felt like she had negative behaviors when she had especially gluten, to a lesser extent dairy. And I felt very, very strongly about that. And I was very, very passionate about it. And if you'd asked me, I would have said that absolutely it was helping her. And then one day, a snack that I bought, they made like more than one product, and it was like a type of veggie stick that was gluten-free and dairy-free. And they made a new product that I thought was also gluten-free and dairy-free, and I bought it, and you guys, it wasn't gluten-free, and I can't believe I didn't look at the packaging, but I don't know, I was so excited that they were making these little apple sticks. I didn't look. I can't, like, looking back, I can't believe I didn't look, because I was like paranoid, because I really thought she had really, really bad days when she had gluten. And she ate it, and she was fine. She ate it for like a month, and she was fine. And then I looked at the back of the package one day, and I saw it, and I was like, she's been eating this for a month, and she's been fine. What if she's going to be totally... And, okay. And at that point, we had moved, and I was due with Tessie any day. Simultaneously, Patrick and Sadie were just being tested, and both of them had just been cleared for their allergies to eat whatever they wanted. We had also, at the same time, just moved out of a house with a mold problem that I had constantly been battling black mold. And so sometimes it kind of felt like those things were related, because we all had like all these health problems and allergies while we were in the other house. We move out of the house and suddenly their allergies are just gone. All of these allergies that the kids have were just gone. And then all of a sudden Maggie, who I felt like had all of these reactions, I mean, it seemed like she would get a rash when she ate this stuff. Like, we would see her get a rash, all of a sudden, no reaction at all. Like, no reaction. I can't tell that she's eaten it. And so I gave her something else with wheat. No reaction. I give her something else with wheat, and we tried it for like a week. Nothing. You can't even tell. She's eating all the stuff with wheat, and there's like nothing. She's the same kid. None of the stuff that we really, really believed that we were seeing before was happening now. Like, before, if she ate something with wheat, she would be like bouncing off the walls, jumping on her bed, up all night, not sleeping. And it was stuff that we would see every single time she ate something with wheat in it. And it wasn't happening anymore. And it happened every single time before. So I still don't know. Because it was something like her therapist, if she ate wheat before, we wouldn't necessarily even tell her therapist, and we would get a call home and be like, she had something with wheat in it this morning, didn't she? And so it was like something that was demonstratable before that wasn't happening anymore after we moved. Something had changed. We reintroduced dairy, and again, we saw absolutely no change in her behaviors. We saw no increase in anything. Tessie is dairy-free. Well, not dairy-free. Tessie isn't dairy-free. Tessie doesn't drink milk. Tessie doesn't eat yogurt because Tessie does appear to have a dairy sensitivity. She does appear to be lactose intolerant or something like that. She gets sick when she drinks dairy. She gets sick when she eats yogurt. Her brother was allergic to dairy, as I said. James had a dairy sensitivity that he outgrew around the age of 2. I expect her to outgrow it. I'm hoping she outgrows it. She hasn't outgrown it yet, and her doctor keeps talking about sending her for allergy testing, and I think it's kind of gotten put off because she has so many doctors that it's kind of like the bottom of our list of concerns, way down here. So she doesn't drink milk, but she does eat wheat. Tessie doesn't have any of the behaviors that were eliminated, really, that we thought were eliminated, that we imagined were eliminated. I don't even know. When we eliminated wheat and dairy with Maggie, like, it seems like there was some benefit at some point in time, but when we added it back in, it really didn't make a difference. Like, was there any sort of thing going on with the house that we lived at, and that's had something to do with the allergies? I definitely had questions about that, and I did bring them up both with her doctors and with her allergist, and the allergist was like, you know, there's no evidence of that. I really can't speak to that at all. I know that I certainly felt better when we moved out of that house, which, I mean, that could be psychosomatic. I have no idea. I think I felt better just being away from the mold. Heck, I felt better with a house that didn't flood every single spring and having to battle mold and sewage backing up every single spring because the roots would grow into the sewer lines and cause the sewer to back up into our house. Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. Every spring it would happen. Like clockwork. Anyways, we survived. We got out of there. Tessie is on the autism spectrum, but she's a really, really laid back little kid. She doesn't make eye contact, but she doesn't have any of the behaviors. She doesn't really have any behaviors that I would want to stop, that I would want to eliminate. She's just her own little Tessie person. So I don't know. I can't really think of a reason why I would put her on a gluten-free, dairy-free diet. And she doesn't appear to be in any pain whatsoever. She doesn't appear to have any gastro problems that I would put her on a special diet for. I think she might be like the only kid at her school right now that's not like on some sort of a diet. Like when we were at the orientation, and like the other parents are like he's on a special diet, and they were asking like, what snacks does your child like? What's your child's favorite snacks? And I'd like just written down Cheetos. Because Tessie apparently has a Cheeto obsession that she developed because she has older siblings. And everyone else is like, can can we bring our own healthy snacks? And they're like reassuring that they like have all these healthy snacks there. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is what happens when you're the fifth child. She likes healthy food too. She likes fruit. Oh my gosh. Yeah? Is everything okay?
Yeah. Can you be in the video?
Come here. Anyways, that's it. And here's this guy. Do you know what this guy does? He can eat, how many apples? What's your record for apples in a day?
Well, 100,000!
I think 7. I thought 7 was your record.
Actually, it's kind of 10.
10? You ate 10 apples in a day? Do you really eat 10 apples in a day?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Ryan!
You're lying. 7. I think 7 is the most he will eat apples all day. Like I have to cut him off from apples so that he will eat dinner. We go through bags of apples because he'll just eat them nonstop.
Yeah.
You're my little apple eater.
Yeah, that makes me healthy.
It makes you healthy.
Apples are healthy, right, Mama?
They are healthy. Okay, you have to go, huh?
Bye. Exercise if you like the video. Just ring your doorbell so you don't miss any episodes. Bye. See ya.
Bye.